What's going on, Star Wars?
Hello there.
Ooh, that was a little bit too early. How is everybody today? We are Wednesday evening here to talk about Star Wars. We got a bunch of people in the chat already, which is so cool. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Jedi Jarvo, April's in the house, Darth Plagueis lives, Pam. I know I saw Max up there, of course. So thank you guys for jumping on. It's going to be a fun night. I put up in our thumbnail that, you know, we're going to talk about all three of these new projects that are coming out because there's just so much stuff that's out right now. So we're gonna jump on all that. But welcome, Mike. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it.
Of course. Yeah, no, there's a ton to talk about. I mean, last week, of course, we had the trailer, which was great. And this week we got even more, which is better. Oh, yeah. There he is.
And Derek's here.
I was already here. I
Yes,
made it. I just had to run to the garage and get some stuff, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes. So how's everybody doing in the chat? Everybody excited about what are we, 40 days, 39 days from Maul?
Yeah.
So pretty exciting stuff.
So close.
Yeah. 7:30. Appreciate you being here. Thank you. So I was talking just before we got off, and that's why Derek ran to his garage, I guess. I'm not completely sure until we figure this out.
It was the garage.
Anyways, I thought it would be cool. I know we have 3 new things coming up already, but we have this comic that has come out, and if you guys follow my channel, I did a couple different shorts on this, and Derek has it.
So I got all of them. So
yeah. So
that one.
Oh, there's the newer Star Wars ones.
And that one.
Nice.
Yes, but this is the only one that was actually co-written by Ahmad Best, who was Keller and Beck and Jar Jar Binks. That played both of them. Which, again, we all know Jar Jar got pretty much shit on, you know, back in the day. But I think he has reprised himself. Yeah, and when Keller and Beck came out, I mean, that was just insane. And to tie him into Grogu, you know, literally saving Grogu, which I thought was fantastic. Nathan, Larry, thanks for joining us. But there's so much stuff, and I know Mike had talked about the one cameo. So if you guys haven't read it already, sorry, but there's going to be some spoilers here. It's nothing crazy that, you know, but there was some really cool cameos in this, and I thought that the main plot of it, again, is where Keller and Beck and Jar Jar Binks get together on this mission, and they end up saving Ezra's mom, Mara Bridger, which I thought was a really cool connection. And you also have is it Rumsled in there and Aura Singh, 2 bounty hunters that we know about, which was really cool to tie these characters into a comic book with Jar Jar. Goes back to Rebels, you know, which is one of the greatest, you know, things that Star Wars has ever put out, you know, with Ezra, and we continue it in Ahsoka season 1 and season 2, but it's all part of that, you know, Mandoverse, which is fantastic. And being able to put these little Easter eggs in there and have someone like is it Mara Bridger? Mara Bridger, you know, who is Ezra's mom, get saved by Keller and Beck and Jar Jar Binks, I think really ties that all together. And then at the end, you have Jar Jar when he comes back, you know, Palpatine calls him to the office, you know, so as the senator representative, and they're talking a little bit about what's going on, but Jar Jar brings up the point, and he's like, you know, I brought you into power. I brought this vote so you could be in power. And I thought it was cool, the interaction that, and he sort of stood up for himself when he was talking about this whole, you know, what was going on in this planet, Yoruba, I think, and, you know, the coaxium that was getting mined there and how it might implode this planet and just different things. And he was looking out for these people, and Palpatine sort of blew it off at first, but then, you know, Jar Jar was like, hey, I got you into the seat that you're in. And I just thought that was cool that Jar Jar it's not a joke. It's not a funny, you know, goofy comic. It's
not at all. It's super
no.
serious.
Yeah,
it's super
it's
serial,
cool.
guys.
Yeah, it's cool comic to get these characters involved with the rest of the universe, and then also to show that Jar Jar figured out, the whole power scheme, but it was a little bit too late. So I just thought that was pretty cool that they bring all of that together and tie it into to Rebels of all things, which was so cool to have Ezra's mom, who we're going to have more of Ezra, obviously at the end of this year with Ahsoka season 2, but the way that they tie all these things in with the tales coming out and the books and these comics, just like I think these comics coming up, and this will be a great segue, but we'll talk about, what your guys' thoughts are on this comic, but the new Maul comic that's coming up. So that's going to be a pretty cool thing. So, Derek, your thoughts, since you've obviously read it.
Yes. So, Owen, hey, Nick.
Hey, hello there.
Nick, we're just talking about the Jar Jar comic. So we are talking about this one, right? So, really, you're wearing the Jar Jar shirt, so it's perfect.
That's why.
So, I was super excited about this, and this past weekend, I actually went back to my hometown to visit family because it was my dad's 70th birthday. So, happy birthday to Dad, and it's my brother's birthday today. So, a little shout out there. But of course, I was with my brother and my nephew, and we had to go to the comic book store. We just had to. And so, amazing comic book store. They had everything I could ever want, and they had all of the Jar Jar series. And so I get them. My brother's like, Jar Jar? Really? Come on, man. And I'm like, no. This is like redemption of Jar Jar. And he's like, there can't be a redemption of Jar Jar unless there's Darth Jar Jar. And I'm like, well, there's not Darth Jar Jar, but having Keller and Beck in there and all of this new content and really making him not be the dummy was really cool. I loved, because I think most of us, at least on this show, really loved Jar Jar, because I was at that age where it wasn't dumb for me, because when did that come out? 99. So like I would have been in 8th grade, where it was like, it could be a little goofy, but it wasn't dumb for me. And I really, as I got older, I didn't understand all the hate for Jar Jar, because to me, he was a great character. And like, I understand why, I guess if I would have been older, I probably wouldn't have liked him as much, but I did like him. And so having him in the comics in these serious roles and like talking to Palpatine, like at this point, he looks different. And all of this stuff is happening. And it's powerful. It's a really powerful comic. And the cover, of course, with him with his hands up like that, it just changes him. He's the diplomat now. He's not the goofy Gungan.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you were in 8th grade in 1999. I was like -3 years old.
Oh my gosh, here we go.
No, what's funny is I always loved Jar Jar growing up because I was a kid watching him. But when it was the 25th anniversary or whatever it was a couple of years ago, or whatever it was, 2 years ago, when I saw it in the theaters for the first time, The Phantom Menace, I went with one of my friends, and the whole time we're laughing. Like, everything that Jar Jar does, he's the comic relief, but they do it so well. Like, he's there to do that on purpose, and he does his role well. But of course, the backlash made him a smaller character for the rest of the trilogy, but even he comes back around in the Clone Wars, where he gets multiple arcs for himself. But to see a more serious side of Jar Jar is really cool. I actually think, obviously, seeing more Jar Jar is great. Keller and Beck needs to be a more seen character, not just in comics, but in live action again, maybe in some animation stuff. Like, the fact that he's with Grogu is very important, but he's just a cool character. Like, he's badass. He's saving Grogu. He's wielding lightsaber. I want more of Keller and Beck. Ahmed Best, of course, but Keller and Beck.
Yeah, and I think also giving Ahmed that extra, obviously they saw how much the fans wanted him and wanted to give him that redemption, because if you watch the documentary where he's talking about, like, he was not wanting to be alive anymore.
Yeah.
And like, if you watch that and don't have a tear come to your eye, I question your humanity. And to see like him be celebrated finally, and then for them to keep celebrating him in other ways is amazing. Like, he's on the cover and he's co-writing, and man, I just think it's great. I think it's amazing. I think it's one of the nicest and coolest things that Star Wars has done in a while that the average fan isn't going to know about. And that's okay.
Yeah, well, the big question as a content creator for weeks and weeks, or I guess years, was who saves Grogu from the Jedi Temple, because that was teed up in like season 1, and we don't learn about it until season 3. So it's 4 years of us waiting to get that answer. And when it was Ahmed Best, because we didn't know the character at the time. Well, I guess we did from the show, but we didn't assume it was going to be the same character. When it was Ahmed Best, people loved it, and they loved it even though it wasn't somebody more significant. Like, it could have been people thought Palpatine for a while because Grogu was force choking people and everything. It could have been Palpatine. It could have been people thought Anakin, because he was at the Jedi Temple. They thought Anakin had this moment of whatever and saved Mace Windu. Everybody loved the Mace Windu one. But when it was Ahmed Best, it was this largely celebrated event, and it was great to see. So yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. It's a use that they do, I feel like, more often than we maybe give it credit, where, you know, all of the theories swirl around on like big characters doing something, and they give us a great character that we now want a ton more of, kind of out of nowhere. And I mean, cherry on top, like Derek said, like, no better person in the world than Ahmed Best to get that opportunity. Like, you know, from what I've read, he's also like an amazing person, you know, and he dealt with a lot of shit that he didn't deserve. And
it is crazy. Ahmed Best and I guess Jake Lloyd too, in that first movie, like, up until that point, no actors from Star Wars were getting shit. Like Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Harrison Ford, they were all beloved. But when the prequels came around, those actors just started to get so much crap from fans, can't even call them fans, from people online and in person, I suppose. The internet wasn't as big at the time. And now it's gone even crazier because of the internet with the sequel actors and now the show's actors and everything. But it's great to see that the guy who, I guess, got it first, Ahmed Best, is come back around, is this great new character, and it's this feel-good moment for Star Wars fans, actual fans, and not just people who crap on actors. Yeah, which is insane to me.
Well, and as I was like going through this again, I was like looking through some of his credits that he's done since then. I didn't realize that he did all the Robot Chicken stuff.
Really? I didn't know that either.
Yeah, so he was like Jar Jar in the Star Wars Robot Chicken, and it's like,
that's funny.
Oh, that's really awesome that he did that.
Yeah, I will have to say that unfortunately I was one of those, and I was a little bit older, but I was not a Jar Jar fan in the beginning. I didn't hate on it. I was just like, okay, now we got this goofy character that's, you know, they're making fun of, sort of, you know, and getting his tongue stuck and all these things. And for me, the redemption was that last movie where he actually, you know, has to make this decision that he thinks he's making the right decision to, you know, to put the vote up for Palpatine. So no matter what you think of him, he is a huge part to this movie and to this universe. And that's why I really thought that was cool that they sort of brought that up in this comic, you know, for him to confront Palpatine, so to speak, and say, hey, remember who got you that position, which he really did. If you go back and, you know, think about it, it was him that put that vote up, which so I thought it was really cool. Again, my redemption was the third movie, which I thought, because even for me, even the Ewoks, I was like, these are sort of goofy little teddy bears that we have to deal with, you know. But again, they grew on me, and they're an important part of the story. You know, nobody gets off of Endor if the Ewoks aren't there to help them. You know.
Yeah, true. And well, to the point of that, like, Jar Jar is dumb because he has to be, because somebody has to give Palpatine that power. So he does serve his purpose.
And I have two things. One, that it's that scene in Attack of the Clones that leads to him giving emergency power to the Chancellor is like teed up in, I know they say like some of the dialogue in particularly the prequels is a little too on the nose, like with Jar Jar stuff, with whatever people are saying, but it's like on the nose in such an easy way for anyone watching to comprehend. They're in this meeting with like Bail Organa and all these people in Jar Jar, and Palpatine's like, well, without Queen Amidala here or Senator Amidala here, who would have the stones to do it?
Yeah.
And they kind of like, oh, well, and Jar Jar's like, you know what? She would want me to do it.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like a perfect play, kind of adds to like the puppety thing. And it's not really Jar Jar's fault. It's like all of her, you know, all of her most trusted people hanging out going like, man, what do we do without her? And Jar Jar's like, you know what? I got you. And he does it. And then second thing, Ron, I have a question for you. Because I don't think any of us were really around
alive
to do this. Was there any, you know, the difference between this character is that the difference. What did I miss? Oh, there you go.
He's fixing his glasses.
So the difference between the character I'm about to mention and Jar Jar is that this character kind of immediately gets maybe a cleanup, but like were people at first a little weird about Yoda because the first half of his time in Empire Strikes Back, he's like purposefully really goofy, but then he kind of cleans up? Or by the end of the movie, do you know, because he's a weird little creature that you'd never seen before. He wasn't Yoda like we know him now, like an iconic thing. Was there any kind of weird?
I think it was more weird when the prequels came out because people weren't really sure what was going on because he plays that little, you know, when we first meet him, he's this goofy little thing that's taking his cane and hitting R2 and acting like a goof, you know, and then you see him change over into this Jedi Master. But I don't remember anything like that. But you also have to remember there wasn't as much social media back then. We didn't have computers, nothing like we have nowadays. But even in the 90s and early 2000s, it wasn't a huge, you know, you could read it on the internet if you had a computer and you were logged into Yahoo or whatever it was at that time, you know, and read it. So, you know, all these, like, I know the Insider's coming to an end this year. You know, those were the things that we got to see every 3 months. I mean, I was so excited, you know, every third month or fourth month, whenever that magazine was going to drop, because that's when I was going to get my information about Star Wars back then, you know, and the other magazines that would come out, you know, like they do nowadays with some of these other films and, you know, things that are going on. But that was our only form. So if there was, it wasn't as bad as like with the Jar Jar or Acolyte, unfortunately, where people can just get on here and say their opinion and just shit on everything. And then it's like, oh, well, I don't want to go see that. So it sort of stinks.
It's a tough comparison because like Yoda and Jar Jar are not in the same conversation. And like even within Empire, Yoda, you know, he even says like, yeah, I was just kind of acting like a dick because he's not patient, you know, but so he, you know, he becomes iconic in that very movie, obviously. But I do remember like at some point when I had gotten like beyond child age and watched Empire, I was like, I don't remember it being this goofy. And the same thing with Jar Jar, like, man, I don't remember it being this overtly goofy. I just thought he was a member of the team, you know. So
well, I guess
go ahead.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, I guess it's sort of, he starts really, really goofy, but by the time Luke even leaves Dagobah, Yoda's trained him and he pulls the X-Wing out of the swamp. So I think that scene alone just sort of makes him important and strong.
And to me, Jar Jar was always iconic, and it was surprising to me as like a teenager to find out that people hated him. You know, like,
that was my thing. Like everybody had a Jar Jar shirt or like the book bag. I remember the Jar Jar book bag.
Or the like pop-up candy sucker that was his
so
tongue.
the really creepy one.
Weird one, yeah.
that was a little problematic, but but I like Max Reba said Ron was trolling Star Wars forums and AOL chat rooms.
That's what I was trying to think of. AOL. That was the one that was like the first.
I still have an AOL that I think I could use. I don't know.
What ancient technology are you guys talking about?
Right.
No, well,
so Mike, back in the early days of the internet, you used to have to use a phone, and you would go to like Walmart, and they'd have these giant bins full of internet CDs, and they would have AOL on the CD.
That's pretty crazy. Was that phone attached to a wire still, or was that?
Yeah, there was no Wi-Fi. Come on, man.
And it would make the creepiest sound in the world when you were powering it up.
I was like the rich kid in town because we had our internet on a separate line because my dad's business was run out of the house, and he had the internet on the fax machine. So like I never had to get off the internet if I didn't want to. Not my internet was so slow you couldn't do anything.
Yes.
Well, to this point, the cool thing about this Jar Jar comic, in not obviously all the things we already talked about, but as the title of this live stream says, 2026 is so jam-packed, and we know the big three of Maul, Ahsoka, and Mando, but there is a lot of stuff, like comics for Jar Jar, comics for Maul, and Vision spin-offs and video games. Like, this is the most jam-packed year for Star Wars content that I can remember, and Vision's comics as well.
Oh,
like comics.
It's exactly like the show, but it's so
really
good. I mean, it's Ronan and the Droid. Let's go.
Yeah. You guys got to get on Visions.
Well, I've seen all 3 seasons. Three seasons. Yeah, I've seen all 3 seasons. It's just
so then, Ron, you need to get on Visions.
Ron doesn't like Visions.
Oh man,
I love it.
Just send Ron the good episodes.
Yeah,
and then you can watch them.
Giving it a shot. I know I need to, but it's like, and that's what I was going to say. I love it all, but there's some things that are a little bit different about it,
Yeah.
And like Mike, like you were just saying, there's so much coming out still this year, and I would almost guarantee you we're going to get some sort of other animation. I think this year at some point. I think we might get a Tales towards the end, or maybe in between, Mando and Ahsoka. I think it'll be an interesting, and more books, more the games that are coming out. I thought I saw a new trailer for the one that
there was a gameplay trailer for Galactic Racer. Yeah.
Okay, it's pretty badass.
It's awesome.
Right?
I mean, it's cool because the graphics are so good, and there's these fiery explosions happening, and it's cool.
And I like that they kind of made it almost like game. Well, they did make it gameplay style. It's not like a cinematic trailer, and then we wait 10 years for it.
Yeah. Well, it comes out this year, which is exciting. No release date yet, but I'm assuming sooner rather than later if they're giving us gameplay trailers.
Yeah. Also, fun story. Guess who is going to be at Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland on the 29th of April?
You are.
I got like a 1 in 3 chance here.
This guy, the parks guy. I'm going. So, yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So, I think I should probably shoot some content too. I think you guys would like that. But with all of this stuff going on, like they're gonna do something big. I'm hoping that like that day we get some like famous people to show up. It's gonna be a madhouse. Like the thought of like, should I go on opening day or should I go the day after? I should go on opening day, right?
Of course.
Absolutely.
How about both? Why not both?
Yeah.
Ooh. But to Ron's point, going back to the animation side of things, I saw something, and again, I have zero, like, take this with the biggest grain of salt you can find, because I have zero thing to back this. But it says that the insiders are confirming that Star Wars has at least 2 huge animated projects in the works right now that they're keeping super secret and have not been announced yet. And that's the only information they have about them, not when they take place, nothing about the characters, nothing. Just that there is at least 2 huge animation projects in the works. Now, Maul Shadow Lord, this time last year, or I guess a little later, at Star Wars Celebration, was a huge surprise to all of us. Nobody saw that coming when Maul Shadow Lord was announced. So if I would not be shocked at all if they have multiple other animated projects already in development that they just are keeping a secret.
Cal Kestis.
Of course, that would be nice. But like a Tales for sure. But maybe even another multi-season show, like a Luke Skywalker show or something like that.
I would love another Tales, like especially like Mace Windu. I think Mace Windu Tales would like early Mace Windu or like some of the like
Mace. Okay.
Well, I mean, later, of course.
Yeah, he survived the fall, of course.
He did. Which characters does Mike think will not be alive in these projects?
What?
All of them.
Yeah.
Tales of death.
Tales of characters who've died in Star Wars.
The Mike Project.
Definitely not Cal Kestis.
Yeah.
No, don't you dare. And it wasn't on Alderaan either.
Well, this was funny. Yesterday, me and my girlfriend Sam, we finished Rebels, and it was like, oh my God, let's go. Now we're going to start Andor. We got a long road until Mando comes up. But we finished Rebels, and it affirmed my belief that Rebels is my favorite Star Wars project ever. It is just that fourth season. I mean, they're all great, but fourth season is just 15 episodes of just peak Star Wars. But finishing that, and of course the cliffhanger of Ezra going, I'm counting on you, Sabine, and she's like, to do what? And then he disappears, and then she has to find him. All that great cliffhanger is really, really cool. But Ahsoka season 2 comes out this year, and I guess Ahsoka season 1 is Rebels season 5. So Rebels season 6 comes out this year, and to get to see those characters again is gonna be awesome. But we did have to watch the Ahsoka season 1 trailer because Sam's favorite character is Ahsoka, and she's like, when do we see Ahsoka next? And I was like, not for a really long time. But I was telling her about how Cal Kestis and who that character is and how I think he might show up in Ahsoka season 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, remember, if he shows up in all 3 this year, poncho. I'm going to wear that poncho every day.
Talking about killing off characters, she asked me because she says, is Ahsoka dead? And I was like, well, Ahsoka's getting a second season this year, so I don't think she's dead, but she has died multiple times, so I don't even know anymore.
Good point.
Yeah, she's like a cat.
Yeah, she's got 9 lives.
That means we got like 7 more seasons or 6 more seasons that she can die in.
Yeah, exactly.
I did not check with you guys on this, but I did plan an activity for us.
Ooh, I love it. Is it a fun activity?
So much room for activities.
It has to do with the title, actually.
Good.
It's
the title?
Actually
2026.
Yeah, it's actually insane that that's what we're talking about tonight, or that's what the title is, because that's what it's about. So I wrote down, I think we should start just briefly on this year, on why 2026 is a huge year for Star Wars. We talk about it a lot. And the question being, is this like one of the biggest we've ever had, right?
Oh, well, hold on. Is it one of the biggest, or is it the biggest?
That's the activity. We're going to go through.
Oh boy.
We're going to go through.
I've got opinions.
I wrote down some notable years and we can kind of judge. So 2026, we've got Mandalorian and Grogu. First Star Wars film in theaters since 2019, so 7 years.
Yeah.
With an IP or sort of like a story that is largely very popular and pretty lukewarm in terms of criticism and divisiveness across the fan base. So it should be huge. Shadow Lord, big for people like us, probably big for anybody who even remotely likes Star Wars, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ahsoka season 2, huge for people like us, probably more geared toward people like us. I would venture to guess.
Yeah.
We just said there might be a possible animation, and then I think you can also factor in the ramp up for 2027 with Starfighter, which I don't know about you guys. I tend to believe they're going to market the crap out of that.
Yeah, we'll get a trailer this year.
Yeah, so I would throw the ramp up for Starfighter into this year as well.
Do you think it's going to be for like the pre-trailer for Mando and Grogu?
Yeah, I think like a teaser, or at least, kind of like, I think they're going to want a big runway for Starfighter because there's nothing recognizable about it except who's in it, right? We don't know. Yeah. It's a new era.
They don't really need a runway. They can just kind of float and then go. Oh,
sorry. Nice.
I'm done.
Nice, Derek. So what do you guys think about that? That's pretty huge, right?
All right.
Yeah,
I got some opinions.
Yep.
I'll go first. No, Mike, I'm going to go because I'm going to say,
Derek, you go first.
2026 is a huge year, a huge year. But I still think that 99 is the year because it brought it all back and it brought new fans that didn't care about Star Wars. And it really, to me, because obviously I was in it, it was when Star Wars changed a lot, because until that point, Star Wars was still kind of like the nerdy thing. Like older people liked it, or, you know, whatever. But like I was a nerd because I liked Star Wars a lot. And then by the time that the third movie came out, till Revenge of the Sith came out, Star Wars was so huge that if you like Star Wars, everybody likes Star Wars.
Yeah.
So I'm saying 99 was the biggest year.
So good point, Derek. Before anyone else jumps in, I've got 6 years,
right.
including 2026.
Okay.
And Derek just nailed one of them. But I'm going to start at the beginning of this list, and unfortunately, it's not 1977, even though it probably should be in there. I put 1980 because of how huge 77 was, and now we get a sequel to a movie that I believe, Ron, you can correct me, I believe people were hoping for a sequel, but the way it ends, it's pretty clean, right?
Yeah. Medal ceremony.
You know, pretty
Without
clean
Chewie.
ending. Yeah,
Racist.
Right? So it seems like not only the anticipation for Empire was massive, but it became what's widely regarded as the best Star Wars movie, like the sequel to end all sequels, regarded as better than the first. Anybody have any objection to that being a huge year? I would also assume the merchandising was even bigger than the first time too, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, the biggest thing, I wasn't alive for it, but I'm assuming the biggest thing was, of course, Vader being Luke's dad. Like that was shocking, to say the least. But yeah, it's still to this day one of the usually towards the top, if not the top of everybody's list. So it's got to be up there.
Yep.
And even though it was only one project, it's kind of a huge deal.
That's the thing. Before the 2010s, it's usually only one project per year.
Ron, would you agree with that being in the top 6, or what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah. I'm just waiting to get to my turn because I got a whole bunch of stuff. It's
He's gonna say 77.
Yeah, the next year I had written down was 99 for all the reasons Derek just said. That there was probably what you guys a 2 to 3 year ramp up of Star Wars is coming back, and the special editions went out in the theaters, and this whole new era, like the established iconography of Star Wars coming back after a long time. It's just a huge deal, regardless of what people thought of the Phantom Menace. I feel like for Star Wars, 99 is like it changed forever moment, as Derek was saying. I totally agree with that. What do you guys think of 99 as a big Star Wars year?
Yeah, I agree. I think you see a shift, and it's a shift made by George Lucas in terms of telling the story of Star Wars, that we're not going to do the same thing over and over and over again. Darth Maul is epic, and again, very good for the merchandise. Double-bladed lightsaber, very good for the merchandise. And Jar Jar Binks, who we talked about earlier. So it was an enormous year. And yeah, like you just mentioned, the special editions, the ramp up, it was huge. I mean, yeah.
We good on that?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
The next year, and I have a lot of reasons for it. I wrote 2005.
Yeah, for sure.
So we have Revenge of the Sith, which at the time was the exclamation point end of the saga, end of story, George Lucas style. I'm never making another one. This is it. We see Darth Vader become Darth Vader. It made $850 million at the box office, which is $1.4 billion today.
Wow.
I love. By the way, guys, I love using an inflation calculator. So if you ever have to do that on here, I always have one
Nerd.
loaded. I always have one loaded whenever I'm watching like TV shows. Man, how much are they talking about? Anyway, Revenge of the Sith, huge. All of it's huge. Regardless of what people thought of the prequels, that's also a big, huge moment. In the same year, the Revenge of the Sith video game sold 3.32 million copies worldwide on PlayStation 2 and Xbox.
Had it.
Wow.
Star Wars Battlefront 2, the video game, was the number 2 sold game of 2005, despite being only released on PlayStation 2. And it competed in the same year as every year Madden and Call of Duty 2, which is a massive game, and beat at least one of those because it was the number 2 game of
It's the only reason I had a PlayStation.
Yep. Lego Star Wars, the video game.
Wow.
It sold so many copies, I couldn't find a definitive number on the internet.
All of them.
Yep.
Every copy.
I saw a few million. I even saw that up to today, that game has sold 50 million. I don't know if that counts all of them, but the one that came out in 2005, big deal. And then obviously we had a lot of like books and comics surrounding Revenge of the Sith. There's kind of like a big exclamation point on Star Wars at the time. We kind of thought it was done. It's a big year.
Yep.
What do we think?
Yeah.
It's a good year.
Okay.
I think 2005, again, in this, my personal bias comes in, is Revenge of the Sith is my favorite movie. So like that year is just so big. And then you add the other things. But yeah, so it's like for people who love The Empire Strikes Back, 1980 will be a bigger year. But 2005 is enormous. And
Mike had a Revenge of the Sith onesie too. So
yeah, I obviously did not see the movie in the theaters, but I did play the shit out of Battlefield 2 for the next, I guess, I don't know how many years would it be after that, because we don't get another Battlefront until
2014.
Yeah, so it's like almost 10 years. That game was enormous, and the Lego games, of course.
Which brings me to my next year is 2015. So we had The Force Awakens, the all-time Star Wars leader in box office, first project in theaters that Disney was now the parent company of. We had Rebels in full swing.
Yeah, season 2, I think, right?
Yep, we had new canon kind of like blitzes of books, comics, as they had to sort of reshape the canon world. So for people like us, there was stuff coming out all the time, including, I believe, the Vader comics, which are fantastic. And we had Battlefront, as you just mentioned. And then I would say similar to 99, not obviously not at the same scale, but there was this long-standing sort of ramp to Star Wars coming back. And I think it probably, again, for like people who experienced the original trilogy, The Force Awakens kind of giving you that feeling again, where the prequels, let's be honest, really probably didn't. They didn't really draw on a lot of original trilogy, vibes per se. They made their own, which is why I think it was such a big time for Star Wars change. I think it was like a really unifying year for Star Wars fans, and obviously box office doesn't lie, all the things. So I think it's similar to 99, maybe not as like influential, but still huge. What do you guys think?
Yeah, 2015. Personally, it's the first big year that I remember. Like just being Star Wars is back in theaters, Luke, Leia, Han are back. Like this is big deal, and all the other things with Rebels and games and everything too. It's the first, I guess, all things year, because 1999 didn't have I guess it maybe had the pod racing game, but
and Jedi Power Battles.
Yeah. Having video games, books, comics, movies, 2015 is that year.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is this is really, I think, the biggest time, not the first time, but the biggest time where you had not even casual fans. You had people that weren't even Star Wars fans that went to see the movie.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. And I think that's why there's so many mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they killed off Han Solo.
I would also throw out there as the first time a Star Wars movie did not premiere in May. It premiered over Christmas, which I think influenced performance in the box office.
Yeah.
So the next one, are we good on 2015?
Mm-hmm.
Good year.
The next one, I cheated and used 2 because one bleeds into the other and COVID doesn't count. I said 2019, 2020.
Okay, I take that.
So
That might be the best year.
So regardless of opinions on the Rise of Skywalker, that happened. That came out. That
did happen.
That was $1.08 billion in box office. And at the same time, we had The Mandalorian, the first live action series ever for Star Wars. And then later on, why I included 2020 is Clone Wars Season 7. Which is kind of a huge deal.
And Mando Season 2.
So good.
And so I was kind of torn between the two. I feel like COVID kind of messes that up. And, we closed the book on one thing, opened the book on another. Closed the book on 2 things, Clone Wars, but then that blossomed into Bad Batch, and this era that we've had since Star Wars has been in the theaters really started in these 2 years, which we're about to maybe even with this movie kind of close the book on that and move into different expectations for what comes out. So I think a lot of these years kind of bookend eras of Star Wars. I did have some honorable mentions. One honorable mention was 1983. So I think because of how huge Empire was in 1980, the anticipation for Return of the Jedi was probably massive as well.
But you did skip one thing in 2019, my good friend.
Okay.
Galaxy's Edge
Galaxy's
opened.
Edge. Yeah, Galaxy's Edge.
So the greatest thing. I'm like, who's going to say it? Yeah,
That's
Galaxy's
huge.
Edge.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And you wouldn't think that 2019, 2020 would go down as like a huge, important Star Wars year, but it does. And then hold on one second. I threw in the other honorable mention for bad reasons is I think 2018 was like a tough year. We had the fallout from The Last Jedi, and then Solo kind of suffered from that in a 5-month span, kind of suffered from all of that. And we had Rebels happening still, all this kind of, just a lot going on at a time where we were kind of trying to figure out what era we were in, So
well, Rebels carried those 2017, 2018 years because that's when season 3 and 4 came out. But another 2019 project that I thought Derek was going to mention is Cal Kestis' first appearance in Jedi Fallen Order, November 2019.
True story.
So that's if you're combining 19 and 20, that might be the best year because it's just what Mando did for all of Star Wars, not just bring back fans, but kickstart us off on the Disney Plus, and Clone Wars Season 7 being the end of that, but also leading into other things. But you're getting Mando Season 1 and 2 within the same year. Like that's hasn't happened since and probably will never happen again. But that second season, I mean, speaks for itself with the whole Luke Skywalker thing. And I believe at the end of Season 2 and at the end of 2020 is when they had that giant Investors Day meeting where they announced everything for Disney Plus. But
yeah. Well, and Black Spire, the book Black Spire came out in 2019 as well.
There you go.
There's a lot. 2019's moving up.
Yeah, it kind of is. Even if you take out the 2020, it's getting up there.
I know.
So I think given the context of all those, 2026 absolutely competes because I think one of any of those that you define as huge for Star Wars, it usually has to do with either ushering in an era or putting an exclamation point on an era. And I think we're about to do kind of both and move into this new era because we've said it many times. If you look ahead, like we have pretty loaded years coming up in ways that are loaded differently than they used to be,
Yeah.
So,
2026 too is the first year in all of that we're going to get a live action show, animated show, and movie, which it just never happened before because we weren't doing live action shows. And it's really, I guess The Mandalorian's a sequel. The Mandalorian and Grogu is a sequel to an extent.
Mhm.
Ahsoka's a sequel, so there's the anticipation of already knowing the stories and going into another one. Maul, everybody knows the character, so it's not a sequel, but it's still people know that character. The anticipation for these three projects is more than we've had in the past. There's one year though that you did leave off, and I believe it's let me double check.
1977.
No. Hang on. 2022. Because 2022 is Book of Boba Fett, Kenobi, Andor Season 1, and Tales of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Which is pretty jam-packed. And I know Kenobi and Book of Boba Fett are kind of like, shaky amongst fans. And Andor, of course.
Yeah.
But
Jeez, I love all three.
But Tales of the Jedi, of course, is incredible. It's the first Tales. And Book of Boba Fett has its really, really great episodes. And Kenobi's finale is a freaking masterpiece. So that's a pretty great year, too.
Now, I'm dying to hear Ron's
Yeah.
top years.
He's been silent over there.
I know, he is just like, I got all of you idiots.
Yeah.
No.
The guy who lived through it all.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Was that your last year?
Yeah. It's
Nick? Okay. No, and I think all of those are fantastic. And I was just gonna sort of defend 2026, which I will in a minute. But all of those were so good. All of those were so good years, and for all different reasons. Because I also feel like 25 was a great year. I mean, Andor season 2, that was, you want to talk, it wasn't my favorite, but that was a masterpiece.
Yeah.
The dialogue in that, the character representation from these actors and actresses in it, the things that we learned, Easter eggs, everything that it ties into, and it goes right back to where it all began.
Yeah.
It goes right back to 1977, A New Hope. And, so again, that I think is great too. So all of those are, yes, 1999 I think is fantastic because it does bring that back. Everybody, especially my age, was like, yes, we're getting more Star Wars. We got those 3. They were fantastic. We thought it was done. A couple books here and there, and that was it. But to come back in 1999 and have all of that was, oh my God, Star Wars is back, and this is going to be great because we get to find out. Because there was rumors about this Mustafar, this lava planet that's how Darth Vader became Darth Vader. And so all of that sort of was bubbling up and came to fruition, which was so cool. 2022, I think you said, with all of those things that were there. Mandalorian coming out in 19 and 20 and having all of that stuff. But I think right now, like we said, you have 3 huge things coming out. And this is more, I think, for Star Wars fans like us this year. And that's sort of, and the people that are in this chat, because they're here because we all love Star Wars. And we have 3 huge projects coming out from characters that weren't even, none of these characters were around. None of these main characters were around, even in, right? 1, 2, 3. Maul came out in 99. That's it. Yeah. He's the only one. But from the original, there's no one. These are all new characters, so to speak. All the main characters are new, which I think is phenomenal because we're still continuing to grow 49 years later, which is awesome. And everything else that's going to come out for it, because like you said, some of these normie fans, I actually think you're going to get more normie fans to watch Ahsoka than you are Maul, because it's a cartoon.
Yeah,
we love it. It's a story, just like the comic book we started talking about today.
It's not a cartoon; it's animated series. Ron,
but that's what people think. But that's what people think.
Because that's what you hear about Clone Wars and stuff.
Right.
Like I love. Yeah, I love defending Clone Wars and Rebels. It's like, oh, it's a cartoon. No, it's not. You heathens.
And we know it as animation. So again, it's like, this is fantastic because we're going to get this whole story that we've been wanting for Maul to figure out what he did and how he got to where he was when we last saw him, with Ezra and all this stuff in between. And now, like we've talked about, Mandalorian and Grogu. Yes, I think it's going to be very much like Force Awakens, because it was like Han and Chewie come on the one end, Falcon and people blew people's minds, you know, when they said we're home. You know, we got Luke, we got Leia, we got the 4 main characters from 1977 back in there, which I think was fantastic. But you're bringing this new huge character, 2 huge characters, Mandalorian, Din, and Grogu, and they're going to blow up this freaking screen, and it's going to be fantastic. And I think, like you talked about before, Derek, some of these people that weren't Star Wars fans went to see some of those movies. There's going to be a lot of people that are not Star Wars fans that are going to see Mandalorian and Grogu because of that little green dude, and because
my words, it's gonna be big. I've been saying it. People have been ridiculing me.
But it's going to be so. I think, and again, like I can't think of the stunt guy's name that you mentioned yesterday.
Brandon Wayne.
Yeah, you know, talks about this is a huge, what's the exact words? Not life
franchise changing.
Wow.
Thank you. Franchise
Those are 2
changing.
insane words to say about a movie.
Yeah.
I said this.
Franchise that's 49 years old, you're going to change it? That's insane.
Greatest ever.
You know, so, and you have these comics. We still haven't even seen Maul's yet, and we got five episodes of Maul out this year, along with the Shadow Lord animation. So that's going to be huge as well, and that's why I think it's going to be the biggest, if not the biggest, one of the biggest years for super fans, because all of these, everybody's going to go see the Mandalorian and Grogu, no matter what, Star Wars fan, non-Star Wars fan, Star Trek fan, everybody's going to see it. We are excited about that, along with the other 2, and everybody in this chat probably is as well. They're excited to watch how we get them all. They're excited to watch what's going to go on in Peridia, and what's going to go on with Thrawn and these new characters, because some of these other ones have, you know, they've passed on or gone by the wayside or whatever at this time. And we have these new characters coming in, and we're tying all these things together. You know, there's going to be so many Easter eggs in all 3 of these, tying them back into different things. Again, going back to the beginning with this comic book. This comic book that we weren't sure what it was going to be like had some huge reveals in it, had some huge things that add on to our story in Star Wars, and it just gets better and better. And I think that's what's going to happen as we go on this year. And even like next year, even with Starfighter coming up and putting Starfighter in this year, next year is going to be huge too, because you have Star Wars Celebration, the 50th year. Okay, this will be my 6th or 7th Star Wars Celebration. It's going to be huge. The rest of them are huge, but this is 50 years. And you have Starfighter, which is going to be another huge movie, because they got Ryan in there, and I think they did a great job bringing him in. I'm not a huge fan of the big A-list actors coming in here. I think his supporting cast are going to freaking kill it. I think all of those bad guys are just going to crush the screen, which is going to be so cool. And those are the only 2 things that we know about right now in 2027. You know, they got shit in their back pocket. You know, there's stuff already in the works.
The 50th anniversary is a perfect opportunity to announce what our next 5 years is going to look like, you know?
And it's going to be,
you go to those, that's what they do. They announce a lot of that stuff coming out. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, and it's going to be Dave Filoni's first celebration as president, so he's going to want to lay the groundwork and be like, we got a plan type deal. Probably the announcement, or the official announcement, and hopefully plot and story of what the Kimberg trilogy is going to be, and maybe even a confirmation that Mando is going to be a trilogy, like something for people to anticipate and look forward to.
I do have to say right now, we have the most people we've had on here. We have 26 people on right here now.
Hey,
let's go.
So much for being here. I mean, all of us love to talk about it. I love watching the chat. I love seeing how much love you have for these as well. I think it's so cool that we all get to come on here and just like Mike, 3 days a week, he's on for 2 hours talking about Star Wars, because it's such a huge universe that we have, and everything else that's coming out in this is so cool, you know. And every year we have May the 4th. So again, those are big things that come out or end, as Maul is, you know. But I think we're going to get some more stuff this year before we end, And next year we're definitely going to get some huge announcements, but I think we're going to get some pretty cool other things too. We're going to get another live action, I think, and I think we'll definitely get another. I think we could almost go, maybe not a movie every year, but we could almost go every other year, movie, live action, animation. And they have enough stuff to do it, especially if we go back and go back to the old Republic, and start back there and do a trilogy of that. So it's just endless what they can do. But I think that this year for super fans, this is going to be a huge year all together, because we're so excited and we got a whole year full of it, and that's why I think that this is, if not the biggest year, one of the biggest years. And those other years are absolutely fantastic, because again, I think probably the best thing that they did was Andor season 2 was just a masterpiece. And I would almost put it up there, for me, it's probably number 2. It really, even after Empire, because it just ties everything together and everything else. Kenobi, these things that they're coming out with are just phenomenal. So I think they got a good groove going. You're going to have some hiccups like the Acolyte. Again, all 4 of us loved it. Probably most of the people in the chat loved it, so it's just a cool time to be a Star Wars fan. Like we've said, it's a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and we got so much coming out this year, and we don't even know some of the things that will. And I think you're right, Mike. I think there will be another animation, maybe not big long animation like a full series like a Maul thing, but definitely a Tales, or maybe they have something else up their sleeve that they're going to drop on us. So that's my 2 cents.
Well, to your point though, like I always say, Maul, Mando, Ahsoka could all stink, but they're not going to. So 2026, it's at least from a far looking ahead, looks like it should be and will be one of the best years for Star Wars ever. If you look at last year and the fact that we only had Visions Volume 3, maybe a Tales, and Andor Season 2. We didn't know Andor Season 2 was going to be that good, but there was not a lot of content last year when you look at it. So when you look at this year and how jam-packed it's going to be, it has the highest likelihood to be one of, if not the greatest years for Star Wars content. And we're only now, 50 days in, or give or take, 50-something days into the year. We have two new presidents of the company. We got a trailer for Maul Shadowlord. We got a trailer for Mandalorian and Grogu. We got a Super Bowl trailer with the beer commercial. And we're getting leaks like crazy for Ahsoka Season 2. We've talked about all that great stuff. It's just, we have not, since the start of 2026, missed a beat. And we haven't even hit a piece of content yet. Like, the trailers, sure, but we haven't even started a show yet, which is insane.
Yes. And it's really the first time with this whole machine really cooking that we have an iron in the fire for every type of thing, like you both said. We've got a what's supposed to be a blockbuster movie, a live action show that we're all anticipating, an animation show that we're all anticipating. That's probably not even the only one. And I feel like this is the only time where it's all lined up that way. And I feel like the era that we're exiting right now might get a bad rap because it's the era where we figured out live action series, right? 2022 is loaded with them. There's a lot of people who don't like any of those shows. We love them all, but it was this time where we're kind of figuring out like what works, what to expect. We had never seen a live action series in Star Wars ever before 2019. So like now that I feel like they have the ball rolling on that quite a bit, we can now have an iron in every fire, and like no super fan or casual fan gets ignored. It's crazy. Not that they ever did, but you know what I'm saying.
No fan left behind.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. To your point though, like we always make the joke of in Star Wars, give it 10 years. With the Clone Wars, when that began, that was the first ever animated, or I guess the Legends Clone Wars series from the earlier 2000s. But the Clone Wars canon version, the first 6 seasons under George, That was the first time we'd ever done non-movies George Lucas Star Wars, canon Star Wars.
Mhm.
And at the time, it was not that well, at least numbers-wise, did not perform very well. That's why George kind of had to sell the company, because he was putting way too much money into this show when they were losing money. And although Clone Wars today is beloved and people who watched it at the time loved it, it has grown to an insane amount where now there's spin-off shows of it and there's all this other stuff, but people love the Clone Wars with a burning passion now, like the prequels themselves. But you're going to see that exact same thing, and you're seeing it already. Mando season 1 and season 2, I guess, but Mando season 1 is so beloved now. When it came out, it was, but it wasn't like we talk about it now. It's not the same way we talked about it then. And the same thing happened with Andor when season 2 came out. People loved season 1. Where was that when it came out? I don't know. And the same thing's probably going to happen with Ahsoka when season 2 comes out. They're going to be like, I love season 1. No, you didn't. Shut up. You didn't. I was there.
I remember.
But obviously the accolade, but you're going to see people look back and go, oh, that wasn't as bad as I remember it. Oh, that wasn't nearly as, that was actually really good. Oh, yeah. It's just always how it works with Star Wars, because whenever something comes out, the immediate reaction is, this sucks. And then it becomes great. But it will be interesting to see how the reaction is initially to something like Maul Shadow Lord, because it is animated, and usually the animation stuff does get a better rap for it, like Bad Batch recently and Tales and stuff. But Ahsoka season 2, how are people going to react to that? Are people going to be upset like they were with season 1? Are they going to call it mean names? In Mando as well, because season 3 got a bad rap. And is it going to transfer over to the movie? All that. We'll see.
Absolutely. Nick, do you have a, out of all of those, what would you actually pick, do you think would be your top year?
Depends on how we're defining top. Because like for me, like Mike, 2005 is just this crazy magical, memory, of all of that. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I think Mike can back me up. Nobody in our age demographic hasn't seen Revenge of the Sith. It's like even without the like renaissance of the Star Wars prequels that we've had, which we're all really appreciative for. Especially male our age, has seen Revenge of the Sith, whether they've seen Star Wars or not. Like it was that big of a deal. So my heart says that, but I don't believe it. I think this year, if we're talking like what, if we're objectively looking at how packed the year is for how much Star Wars we're getting, what kind of Star Wars we're getting. Obviously, we haven't seen any of it, but we're confident it's going to be good, right? Yeah. I think the only thing it's missing is maybe like the anticipatory ramp that 99 or 2015 or maybe even 2005 had. Like, I think we're just off the heels of maybe the best thing they've ever made, And so it's like, we're like ready for it. I feel like if we got nothing since 2019, maybe there'd be more of a ramp, but you wouldn't have as much. Like, I'd rather have the investment into seeing these stories because you invested in them already than the unknown again. I feel like that unknown thing is reserved for Starfighter next year, because we truly don't know. It's a whole new territory. But I honestly think in terms of like how much stuff there is and how far it's spread out, this year is the biggest, if we're talking, I don't know, by those measures. But it's hard to argue in terms of like biggest influence with like 99 or 80 or, and even where we're at today, you kind of would have to rank in terms of influence 2015 or 2019 in there, because if we don't get the shows without 2019, or we don't have this new era of ownership and getting more Star Wars without 2015. So it probably depends on how you define it. But this year, the reason I made the list is to like compare. I don't think we got as many things in so many places in any other year than we are now. You know, the machine that they've built for the last 10 years is now running. And There were some like literal just logistical hiccups along the way to figure out how to make it work. But the intention was a park putting out movies, putting out live action shows, putting out animation, putting out books, putting out comics at a clip that's all interconnected.
Yeah.
And this might be the first of many years where that is all happening on a regular basis.
Well, and I think another thing too, my other reasoning with Mando and Grogu, where I think it could potentially be the biggest grossing movie of all time, is because there's nothing else coming out that week. I'm looking right now. And
the weeks before and after too, like not
4
just
weeks. It has like 4 weeks by itself.
Right.
much,
There's like nothing. The coming out Friday, May 22nd is Mando and Grogu. I Love Boosters with Demi Moore, Tuner with Dustin Hoffman, and then after that, like Backrooms, Pressure Passenger, The Breadwinner, which is that Nate Bargatze? Oh, there you go. So like, there's not a lot of competition.
No, not for a while.
For it.
The next competition for it would be over a month later when Toy Story 5 comes out.
Yeah.
And then into July when like Spider-Man comes out and Supergirl comes out and The Odyssey comes out. So pretty much until early July, it just has the theater to itself.
Right.
And then Toy Story 5.
You almost have to think of like when, like, what are they going to pair this up at like drive-in movies? Because drive-ins are making a big comeback.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's probably going to play for, my guess is that it's going to play in theaters, and then drive-in time, they'll probably pair it up with maybe Toy Story, which would be interesting.
Later on, yeah.
Which would be, could you imagine the numbers it would get then?
Well, that's the thing too, is Mando's going to be successful right off the jump. First weekend, second weekend, very, very successful. It's going to have a second burst when Toy Story 5 comes out because people are going to be like, oh, wait, Mando's still in theaters? Let me go watch that again. Or if they haven't seen it yet, they're going to be like, okay, let me go check that out. Because the same, not obviously all of the same, but a lot of the same demographic, because of Grogu, is going to want to go see both those movies. That's why they spread them out. That's why Disney spread those two movies out, to not compete with each other, because there's going to be a second flow of viewers coming to Mando and Grogu because of that movie a month later.
Mm-hmm. Somebody asked, where are they coming back? Where are drive-ins making a comeback? Since the pandemic, it really, they started coming back, especially because people had to, you know, separate or whatever. But a lot of them have been picking up and people have liked them. And I know I love going.
Yeah.
I think it's great.
I think another factor of it doing the kind of numbers that we're throwing out here is all of these movies that do that typically have a huge international presence, and Disney's real good at marketing international movies. And I think especially with it being alone for 4 weeks worldwide, it's going to make up a lot of ground in other places. I think Force Awakens broke a record that the first week was like 250 million, but I don't know if that was domestic or worldwide. So it would be on track for your 2 billion prediction, you guys, if it does something like that, which, you know, the only time other than Christmas that you could put out a movie by itself and have everyone go to it is right when summer starts. So, and that's where we're at. So,
yeah, well, to that point too, Star Wars has always been successful in other places, not just the United States. You look at like the Celebration was in Japan last year, and it was the most people in attendance at a celebration ever, or something like that. It's this huge overseas thing. And you look at Zootopia 2 that just made a ton of money overseas, and Avatar 3 that just made a ton of money overseas. Mando's just going to replicate that as well. So tons of people are going to see it here, but you're going to have that added bonus of overseas as well.
Right. And plus, one of the top 5 movies of all time is a movie that we don't even know. Like it was in China.
Naze 2 or whatever it's called.
Yeah. So it's like, you know, and I think this movie has that international appeal.
100%. And it's because of Grogu and Din Djarin, that sort of samurai type character that people really, really attach to, because it's very original Star Wars. It's very original Jedi and Alec Guinness, but in Boba Fett, I guess. But it's also the Grogu of it all. Everybody, whatever language you speak, it doesn't matter. Grogu doesn't speak a language either. Everybody loves him. Everybody loves him.
Lane, I thought Lane had a cool little question here. He asked me, if I was more excited about things back then than I am now, and I just responded, I mean, I'm excited for all of it, which I am, and I'm so excited that Star Wars is still going on. But I think it's a different excitement as I become an adult and know a little bit more about the story, and also, and I think you guys will as well, especially Mike, being a content creator and diving in, even though we only do a Wednesday one, Mike does all 3 days, but trying to put shorts out and look for new things and figure out what else is coming out. It's become a really fun thing for me to continue and get excited about these things coming out. So it's a different excitement than it was, at 10 years old, going to the movie theater and watching this new movie called Star Wars, and going, a few years later to see Empire and Return. I will say that in 99 or maybe 98, when they started talking about stuff coming back, I mean, that's when all of this started for me. I mean, I had a lot of stuff already, but not like this. So that sort of drew me back in. So it's a different excitement, but I think it's right up there, Lane. Like you said, we've seen them all and watched the progression and everything that comes out. I think just continues to get better and better. And especially when they go back and have these little Easter eggs, or have something like Andor that was the story before A New Hope. And those are the cool things for me. And I get excited about that, to see what's going on with Mandalorian and Grogu and what they're going to go back to, because we're only, 9 years away from Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
We're not 25 or 30 years, or whatever it is for, the prequel or the sequels, which I still loved, but this is so close to the original, which I think is cool. It's very exciting. So I'm excited for all of it, Lane. And I thought that was a cool question, but it's just different because of, the stage in life that I'm in as well.
Well, and I think Max Rebo hit it on the head too, saying I'm excited for my younger kids' first Star Wars movie theater experience. That is so important. Like we've all talked about when the prequels came out and then the sequels. And now we have a whole nother generation of parents that get to take, or like me, aunt and uncle, that get to take kids to see Star Wars.
Yeah, I was actually just whatever. But absolutely. The process of spreading Star Wars out so much, having these year-long time gap, or I guess gaps in when we get movies, like it's been 7 years since Rise, or since 2019 when we got our last Star Wars movie. So for many kids who were too young at the time, they're now old enough to go to a movie and understand what they're seeing and understand what's happening. So this is their first introduction. And you never forget your first introduction to Star Wars, or your first experience remembering a Star Wars movie in theaters. And this is going to be that for a whole new generation. That generation has probably seen these characters already on Disney Plus, so it's an added bonus, but this is their first experience with Star Wars on the big screen. I have a nephew who's 1, and I was doing the math on what Star Wars movie he might be seeing that he might remember in like 4 years when he's old enough to remember. But it's something that we haven't had in 7 years, and a whole new generation is going to experience it.
Yeah, and that's the cool thing, that it is still around and everybody gets to, because again, maybe he's not into it, but my dad took us when I was a kid. And so on and so forth. And as you guys go and get older and start to have kids and stuff like that, you're going to bring them into that as well. And there's the whole thing, which again, we don't have to bring politics into this, but it's good and evil, and there's so much stuff that goes on in each one of these, whether it's a comic book, whether it's a live action, an animation, or a movie. There's so much cool things that go on in the story that they tell here. It just keeps us all interested, and sitting here for 2 hours talking about Star Wars, and it's just crazy.
Now you said good and evil. I don't understand what you mean. Evil? Who's evil? Jedi? I can see the Jedi. Or are we talking about perspective? Yeah. The perspective of good and evil, but
certain point of view.
The farmer on Tatooine is evil, and then the guy who rules the entire galaxy, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Pong Krell is evil.
Hey, think of
Yes.
yeah, that's true.
I agree with
Think,
that.
think of all the peace he brought to the galaxy.
Oh,
No
yeah.
more
Think of all the
war.
people he saved.
Yeah, no more
Giant
war.
planet-killing Death Star he made.
He's like Pong
That was
Krell.
necessary.
Pong Krell is like the guy who tried to shoot Ronald Reagan for that actress. Like he just wanted to mow down all of his clones to impress Dooku.
just for fun, just to impress him.
Yeah. What's that guy's name?
I don't
Did he do
Yeah.
it for Jodie Foster?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
don't know.
That
But
was
to your-
that episode though for me was a crazy episode. I think
That
we
whole
all
arc with Umbara, like
Yeah.
it gives you a perspective of the Clone Wars that is very nuanced because like they're fighting against people that
Yeah.
have like crazy technology and all that. There you go. Thanks, Dad. Hinckley. Pong Krell is Jedi Hinckley.
There you go. Well, to that point though, as Ron just brought up, like it is good versus evil. It's these tropes that and lessons that are for everyone forever. That's why Star Wars is still around and very, very prevalent 49 years later, because those lessons still stand to this day. You see all that stuff still happening in 1977 in 2026, and you're going to see it in 40, 50 more years from now. Star Wars is always going to be relevant because you take it into a galaxy far, far away. You say it happens a long time ago, but it all still is relevant and relates. So that's why the original trilogy doesn't feel old, doesn't feel out of date, because it still works. And hopefully we're going to get even more of that with The Mandalorian. I don't know how they're going to do that with the Hutts and the plot that we don't know about yet, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. A lot of father and son stuff, I think, will be in this movie.
Yeah.
Lessons.
Yeah. Well, and that's just it, because once this goes, once this comes out, I think it's as much as we can sit here and speculate and talk and theorize and guess of what's going to happen. I really don't think that it's like we've said, it's not going to be bad with Dave and John behind this pretty much together. I think it's going to be fantastic, and I think it will be groundbreaking. I think it could be franchise changing. I don't know. That's going to be the interesting part, to see how franchise changing it is, and what it is.
Well,
does that make sense?
I think franchise changing is such a bold claim, because things can be good. Like Andor season 2 was good, really, really good. It wasn't franchise changing. It was just really, really great. Something like Mando, something like Grogu season 1, that's franchise changing. That's first ever live action show, changes the shift of how Star Wars works forever. That is franchise changing. So they've done that before. So I'm not like you said, John and Dave were in good hands. But franchise changing is George Lucas going, should I just make another trilogy that's just like the originals? No, let's switch it up and do the prequels. That's franchise changing. That's very, very rare that ever happens. The sequels, they're not franchise changing. I mean, maybe aspects of it are, but it's a continuation of the original trilogy. The prequels were franchise changing. Mando was franchise changing. Clone Wars was franchise changing. To say that this movie is going to be that, and maybe it's not, but even to claim that it gets my expectations really, really high.
Well, I even think it could be just less, kind of what Max Rebo was saying about hyperbole. Like the fact that the film is coming out in theaters with a story that every Star Wars fan is into, and that every casual Star Wars fan or non-Star Wars fan would be into, that is franchise changing. We're not sitting here waiting on how we're all going to argue with each other over the Rise of Skywalker. You know what I mean? Like this is, like we were talking about before with the huge years of Star Wars, like this is a year that kind of resets the tone. And that is franchise change. Like, even if it's just a vibe, maybe they don't use any new technology for the movie. Maybe they do. The story could just be an awesome story. But like you said, redoing The Mandalorian into a movie is not a franchise changing move. But whatever comes of this movie probably is, no matter what. because we're kind of going into a new era anyway.
Yeah.
So it could just be like nothing super specific, but the sheer act of getting another movie in May with live action shows, with anime, like the whole thing, we're moving into different territory no matter what.
Yeah. And the two guys in front of it, that's the biggest thing, is Jon Favreau is directing this movie. Dave Filoni's executive producer. When you look at their track history, you look at what they've done on Disney Plus, The Mandalorian, there's a reason that it's coming to the big screen because it's so damn popular. But you see what they did. They took the risk to give us a baby version of Yoda. They took the risk of giving us a deep fake Luke Skywalker, bringing Boba Fett back from the dead, giving us Bo-Katan in live action, Ahsoka in live action. These two have done it. They've done it already. They've given fans what they expect to get, and they've done it so well. So for those two to make a movie now, they know the expectation's really high. They know they have to even up it more than Luke Skywalker, more than Boba Fett. I don't know how, but franchise changing from the actor who is under the mask, it gives me promise that it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah. Well, and I think, like you said, it could be that trilogy. This movie might not be the actual franchise changing thing, but when they announce it, or when we find out that they're actually going to do a trilogy with these two characters in mind, I think that's going to be pretty cool. And again, it could also revert back to, Mike's premonition that if Din dies in this one, that's going to be franchise changing as well.
That's
because you're going to take these next two and now you have Grogu as the main character for the most part. You're going to bring in these other people, which I don't see how they're going to, unless he starts to speak at the end of this one, it's going to be tough to bring him back, I think, as a main character without some sort of speech. So my thing is I think that it could happen in this one, but I think it's more possible to happen in number 2, almost like a big cliffhanger, like Empire Strikes Back, where the second of this trilogy, Din dies, and that's how it ends, and we're all like, what the freak? Now we're so excited to see what's going to go on, and then you guys get to find out what it's like to go 2 or 3 years with a cliffhanger like that and figure out what the heck's going on, and that's the cool thing too, because we don't have to wait that long anymore, which is great. We're waiting a couple months right now before Maul comes out, but then we go to Maul, and then we go right into the movie, and then we go right into Ahsoka, which is so cool, because back then it was 1977, 3 years later we got another movie, 3 more years, so for me, I'm ecstatic about all of this stuff that's coming out, and with John and Dave behind it, especially Dave being promoted to president and the creative director of this, he has that inspiration and that light that George did and passed down to him, and we're just going to continue to get more and more Star Wars stuff, and it's going to be fantastic.
Well, to your point, Ron, about not waiting, there's another thing that we do on a weekly basis that I feel like is already franchise changing, that we're talking about a movie that is informed by or informs a live action series that we're anticipating. We've never had that ever. We've never had a movie in the theater that creates consequences or stakes for a whole other project that isn't a movie. The only time it's ever overlapped is Mando season 1 and Rise of Skywalker. And really all they did there was like tee up some of the abilities that Rey was going to have, but the stories didn't have anything to do with each other whatsoever. We find out later maybe they do with Necromancer and stuff, but Clone Wars series is I hate to use this word, a little bit of like a retconning of what happens in the Clone Wars that we didn't see in the movies. It's not like they were happening during the movies. We got to go back, but now we have the simultaneous sort of consequences where we're going into this movie knowing what the stakes are, not from a movie. And whatever happens in this movie is probably going to affect a non-movie that is happening at the same time. Like, we've never had that before. That does change the game as to like how we anticipate these projects, because it could be the first time that the follow-up movie from this has something happen that we've already seen in between movies. You know what I'm saying? where we don't
Yeah.
have to backtrack and fill it in.
No,
You're
absolutely right.
Thrawn, and if it were all movie based, we wouldn't know.
Wouldn't know.
yeah.
Yeah. So it is the first time that a movie has teed up a show, and 100% the events of Mando are going to fit. We know Zeb is in both projects, but there'll be more to it than just that. Either way, you're gonna see. I guess my question to you guys is, if The Mandalorian is a trilogy, because Disney says they need it to be successful first, but Lucasfilm wants to make it a trilogy. Do you think there would be more excitement for this film if they had already announced it, or they do announce before it comes out that it is the beginning of a trilogy? I feel like when people are anticipating 2 more movies after, they're more excited to see it. I feel like they might actually be shooting themselves in the foot by not announcing if it's a trilogy beforehand. But what do you guys think?
Well, I'm kind of wondering if, like, with Din, if they keep this thing locked up tight, and maybe he dies or maybe he doesn't, or maybe it's like a mystery of if he survived something, and it's like you guys were kind of saying, a massive cliffhanger of we have to have another one, and we didn't say a word about this, and then it's going to be that internet hype of everybody saying, oh my gosh, there's going to be another movie, but they haven't told us that, and then everybody's going to rush and go see it and put their opinions on it more than before. And then it's going to be the people going multiple times, because I think I'm wondering also if the franchise changing thing is that people are going to see this multiple times, where a lot of people don't do that. And again, that movie lineup, when this comes out, it's very possible.
Well, to that point too, like, there's a lot of aspects to this movie that could be maybe not a big cliffhanger, but something that people talk about for a long time. Like The Force Awakens, Snoke was the biggest thing. Who is Snoke? All that mystery of what's happening there. This movie needs that, and I think there's plenty of opportunity for that. I know the marketing has been very mysterious in telling us how this movie goes and the plot of it, actually giving us a lot of huts and stuff, but I like to look at the things I don't understand in the trailer, and the biggest thing is the Grogu stuff, meditating by himself with that old dude in the rocking chair. And the latest, I guess, rumors are saying that guy might be a Force user but not a Jedi. Makes me think of like Bendu type in Rebels. But what is Grogu doing? Why is Din not there? Like, all that stuff, that might be the thing that gets people talking. Like, who is that old dude? And that might be the thing that gets people to go, we need more, or again, a huge cliffhanger would be great. But there's a lot to this movie that we don't know about yet that could, as soon as it releases, go, holy crap, and everybody's talking about it online. I don't know what it is, but hopefully.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think it's a double-edged sword with that, because I think because we don't know anything about this so far, and I think Jarvo or Vegas said something as well in here about that we don't really know what's going on yet. We don't. I mean, we have a couple little indicators of the Embo and the things like that might pop off, but we don't know what's going to go on in this movie. And I think that we're going to see a big change in this when it gets through the movie. So I think that helps, because we don't know what's going on, and they're hiding it for a reason. I think we're going to have a bunch of cameos, maybe not huge ones, but enough to surprise people, and I think that's going to be cool. But I also think, like somebody else said in here, if you announce the 3 movies, some people might be just like, oh, okay, well, I'll just wait, and and I can watch them when they come out. Where right now people are like, I want to go to the movie theater and see this movie and see how it unfolds. And because I like we all talked about, it's going to be good. I'm sure they think it's going to be good with everything that they've tested with Mandalorian and Grogu. It's going to be a great movie, and they're going to do a trilogy. They're just not going to announce it yet. And I don't know if that's good or bad. Again, we have such a huge social media platform nowadays that's everybody's on 24/7, 365, talking about anything and everything. So I think if they keep it to one movie right now, I think that's sort of builds the hype a little bit more. And then if we get a cliffhanger, or at the end of this, even if it's not a cliffhanger, even if it's a cool little ending and, maybe some characters died and some were okay and this and that, I think, and then they announce that there's going to be another one, that's going to be a huge hype because this movie's going to be so good. Then they're going to get excited for 2 and 3.
Now, what if they don't announce a trilogy, but they announce a second one? I mean, everything's been either 1 or 3. What if they go to the rule of 2?
Well, they've already announced the Dave Filoni movie. Like, it's already been announced, but it almost feels like people forgot about it because it was so long ago now. I wouldn't be surprised, and this would be awesome, if there's like an opening crawl or something to this movie, or a title card that is like episode 1 or something, part 1. I don't know how they'll do it. But
could you imagine if that said at the very beginning?
At the very beginning, or the very end. God. Imagine the very end. Yeah. It's like the end of the credits or something. There's a post-credit scene maybe that tees up another movie, and then it says Din and Grogu will return, or it says like episode 2 coming whenever. Either way, that would be, I think, ideal, because if they announce it, like Ron said, the hype is already there right now. If they announce it that this is the beginning of a trilogy on release or within the next week, then more people will go, okay, I got to go see that movie now. Like, if this is the beginning of a new trilogy and people are saying it's really, really good and it's making all this money, and now they just announced that it's a trilogy too, I got to go watch this movie.
Yeah. Now I'm thinking about if they put that at the beginning of the movie, I wouldn't be able to focus on the rest of the movie. I'd just be like sitting there like, and like trying to text you guys, but I'm trying to focus, like, oh my God, there's another movie.
Well, you guys know what I think about that title card. That I hope it says Heir to the Empire Part 1. And it's just like the perfect way to get all fans into Heir to the Empire, which would be a franchise-changing move, because I think it would kind of bridge everything that may have divided the fandom, or there's such a long time period too to cover. And I think it would be kind of this perfect combination of everything: expanded universe, current stuff, original trilogy, prequels, sequels. Like, it would be a nice blend. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I have seen this like report many times that Lucasfilm is kind of like waiting and watching because they have the stories, and they are kind of waiting and watching to see if, like, would we rather do this in movie format or in series format? And that has gotten dragged as like, well, the Mando and Grogu is not going to be very good, and they're worried about it. I actually think it's not a bad thing for them to not commit. Like, I think if they watch how this plays out and go, what did we think about, our expectations for this story? Because they obviously have more to do if they're waiting to figure out which medium they're going to use. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think, like you guys said, it builds hype in a way that you exclusively have the opportunity to, where when the prequels come out, you're kind of expected a trilogy. Sequels come out, if they're saga films, because of the first 3, you're kind of expecting saga films being a trilogy. I don't know how it was when they came out, Ron. Like, when Empire came out, did you know there was going to be a third one before you saw Empire? Or was it just the sequel to Star Wars? Like, did trilogies just happen because that's the way he decided to do it? Like, we're going to close it out with a third one? And then... Yeah,
I don't know. I don't remember. I mean, again, it was still probably... might have been a teenager. Just got into my teenager. So I don't know exactly, but obviously at the end we all knew, okay, now there's a third one too. This is going to be really cool. That's why I think that, like you're talking about, I think that you leave that sort of open, and then Mike, like you said too, you drop it and then you announce that there's going to be another one, and people are going to freak because this is good. I got to go to the theater and see this because now they're talking about a second one. So it'll be.
Here's the thing too: you've just established in Ahsoka a couple of years ago that Thrawn is back and he's the heir to the Empire. It looks, at least from the marketing, that Thrawn is not going to be in this movie, if at all. And he's going to be in Ahsoka season 2, but the majority of Ahsoka season 2, or at least the most important pieces, because Ahsoka is the title character, are going to be on Peridia, focusing on the Mortis gods and focusing on all that stuff, and maybe Abeloth. That's not Thrawn. They can't just introduce Thrawn into live action and get rid of him after season 2 of Ahsoka, because they haven't made him the heir to the Empire yet. They haven't shown him in his full potential, and they're barely going to even scratch the surface with Thrawn in 2026. So there is already a set up future story. Whether it's a trilogy or not remains to be seen, but there's already the groundwork being laid for Thrawn to be the heir to the Empire and to be our future villain. So that's why I think this trilogy is going to happen, because there is already a continuation of the story, and I seriously doubt it's in Ahsoka season 3. But it has to be somewhere else. In an heir to the Empire trilogy, as Nick said, like part 1, part 2, part 3, or just Mando is part 1 and heir to the Empire is number 2, or heir to the Empire is number 3, whatever. Either way, there has to be a Thrawn story. And if you look at 2026, the Thrawn story is not going to be completed by the end of this year. So there's going to be more story.
And I could see them. I could see them knowing that like Mando and Grogu is going to be good enough to at least be its own thing. Like if we don't, if we get to, production of whatever comes next, and we just have a weird feeling about putting it in theaters, and we want to make an Heir to the Empire series, then they always have the option to do it. Yeah. But like, if it takes off, like we're all saying it will, or that, it would have to for a trilogy, it's not the first time they've gone back and said, you know what, actually, this is part 1.
Yeah.
Mando Grogu is part 1 of this thing. We're just going to throw that in there. They didn't even have name, Star Wars didn't even have the name of New Hope, or episode 4 or any of that. So I think they can decide whenever they want how it's going to fill out, especially when the main resource for how you watch them is now on a perfectly curated streaming network that can bunch them up for you. They don't even have the episode numbers on the movies anymore on there. It's just Star Wars : the name.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's still my biggest concern with this is how, if it is a trilogy, how do they number it? It can't be episode 1 because that already exists. It's a Phantom Menace. It could be part 1. It could be chapter 1, because I guess that's the title of the Mando episodes is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. I mean, they could be so bold to call it chapter 25 because it technically is. No, but I think they have to have some sort of, because it's very easy, 1 to 9. Right now we got 1 to 9, and then Rogue One is a Star Wars story. Solo is a Star Wars story. They have been very, very clear that this is not a Star Wars story. So how do they number it, I guess, is my concern.
Well, you can't assume their numbers. They could be letters.
Could be letters.
I like the chapter. I like the chapter 1 because this could be a whole, this is a book and this is chapter 1, 2, and 3. And but I also think it'll be interesting to see what they do for sure. But I think that this is going to, this will end with them somehow getting Thrawn. Thank you. Just thanking myself because I thought of it. But I think Thrawn's going to be towards the end of this, because what a great way to end this movie. Okay. And this big blue meanie, as Mike says, comes on and something happens, whether it's a 30-second thing or something. And it doesn't even have to be a post credit. It could be towards the end. Again, like we were talking about, or somebody was talking about, like maybe you were, I think you were yesterday, Mike, a Maz Kanata type of video towards the end, and all of a sudden you get something with Thrawn and it ends. Yeah. And then people are like, guess what? Thrawn's in Ahsoka. So now people are going to go watch Ahsoka because they want to learn a little bit more about this guy, but there's still, and then that Ahsoka series comes out and he just starts destroying stuff because he needs a win. And he's going to have a win for a while, because when Ahsoka ends, now people that watch The Mandalorian, got introduced to Thrawn, saw him in Ahsoka, now they can't wait for the next one to come out.
Yeah.
And it builds that way, and you build Thrawn into it. And I don't know how they're going to number it or letter it or do anything like that. But I think what a great segue to get people to watch Ahsoka that wouldn't anyways. At the end of this movie, all of a sudden this big blue guy comes in and he's what, like the emperor now or what? You know, so people are confused or not sure what's going on. And now let's go watch Ahsoka, because now we can get a little bit more of a backstory towards him, because we're still going to get some information in reference to him on that. And then that ends, and now people are more excited about the second movie in this trilogy.
Or to all of your point, this could be its own thing that bridges us into a trilogy, right? Like Mandalorian and Grogu could be its own thing that closes the book on the Mando thing, but opened up the entire world for this trilogy to happen. So you get the bookend of Mandalorian, bookend of Ahsoka, and you've teed up, what amounts to the Heir of the Empire's trilogy, which might be what Kinberg's working, whatever.
Yeah.
It could. I hesitate to believe that this movie would not end on a cliffhanger. If it doesn't end on a cliffhanger, I'll be shocked. But I was shocked that season 3 didn't end on a cliffhanger, really.
Yeah.
And now we have a whole movie. So I think it's perfectly capable of even just standing on its own and giving us the opportunity for a trilogy. And maybe that's what they're mulling over, is like, all right, so if we do this Heir to the Empire thing, or what amounts to the Heir of the Empire thing, whatever they're calling it, would we rather do it in a new set of movies or a show? Because I think it is possible. Every day, more and more, I agree with Mike that Din could die. And I've been with Mike on that, but I've also been hesitant.
Well, maybe Max Rebo's close with maybe Thrawn steps in and takes care of somebody, but maybe he takes care of Stinky.
Could you imagine losing a character not only from this show, but if you went to that movie, didn't know a lot, and you fell in love with Din on screen, you see this blue guy kill him. Like, how bad could this guy be? And now, I'm not saying it's going to happen. I happen to more agree with Ron. If he's going to show up, it'll be short and more of an indicator of the threat,
what's to come.
But I think it's perfectly possible that this is either number one of a trilogy, maybe more possible that it's the bridge from series into the theaters. This just needs to perform, do a great job, get everybody back in the theater, and close the book on what got us here and move on to another trilogy.
I think you're gonna get mention of Thrawn in the movie for sure. Like the Shadow Council guys, they're gonna talk about him and how he's back, because in season 3 they're talking about him and if he comes back, and now he's back. So they'll mention that. My thing is whether he'll show up or not. If it's the final scene, like a cliffhanger, the Chimera comes out of hyperspace above the planet or whatever, that would be cool. You don't even have to see Thrawn, like just the Chimera, because then it would get people talking like, what's that ship? Why does it have a cool design on the bottom? Why has it got some gold on it? Because it got damaged. All that cool stuff. So you won't even have to see Thrawn. But even if you do see Thrawn, you have Zeb. And Zeb's the connection to Ahsoka season 2. He goes from helping Din and Grogu to helping his rebel friends fight Thrawn. So however his story ends will be a cliffhanger in and of itself, because he's going to be like, all right, I'm off to go save my friends from, this big blue guy. Either way, Zeb is the connecting piece. It's a question of who else is the connective pieces, like Bo-Katan or Din and Grogu themselves. Will they be in Ahsoka season 2? Or the cliffhangers, I suppose. I think if Zeb is going to help the rebels, why wouldn't Din and Grogu go too? And that's what makes me think Din's going to die or get captured by Thrawn, or something happens there that it doesn't end too well for our main characters. But
I agree with that.
Speaking of Bo-Katan for a second here, I just saw my other screen. Bo-Katan, the big thing has been Katie Sackhoff was at a fan expo over the weekend, and she said my character is safe forever because it's based off of Dave Filoni's wife, and she pretty much said that she knows where Bo is going to be next, but she can't tell us, of course. And her story is not over, far from over. But what did just catch my eye right now is that Star Wars' official Spanish account, I guess, something like that. Oh, Latin America account. So official Star Wars Latin America account just posted a couple hours ago about The Mandalorian, and like as they do, go watch season 1, 2, and 3 on Disney Plus right now. But the 3 pictures that they posted with this post are Din Djarin, Grogu with his armor on, and Bo-Katan. Now, Bo-Katan is a main character of that 3rd season, but she's not in the first 2, so it's a little interesting that they put her in those images as well. She's in the second one, but she's not a main character in the second one. Like, she's a main character in the 3rd. But yeah, it's a little interesting. We've talked about this before, and I remember Nick saying something similar last week. This is a continuation of those 3 seasons. There's no way they're not going to give us the continuation of that story with these Mandalorians and whatever. And even if it's a final scene where Din gets a call from Bo-Katan that says, "We need your help, Thrawn's attacking us," whatever it is, there has to be a connective piece to what happened in the first 3 seasons with the Mandalorians, with Bo-Katan specifically, and hopefully with Boba Fett as well. But it's interesting that they posted Bo-Katan in that post right there.
Agreed.
Yeah, I was trying to pull it up. I can't find it. But
it's called cool. Star Wars LA. It says official Star Wars account for Latin America on Twitter.
Okay. I actually pulled up StarWarsLatinAmerica.com. There's a site for that.
Be careful with that. You never know what you're gonna get.
No, there's a bunch of Star Wars stuff.
There you go.
I'm always a little cautious. Let the Google do the work.
But yeah, I think you're right, Mike. And I know you had a lot of it yesterday with Katie Sackhoff on yours talking about it. And I think we will see her in Mandalorian and Grogu because she was a main character in it.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be like you said, the Maz Kanata type of thing, where the video that way, where it's just a little bit. But I think that we'll see a little bit more of her than that, because I think she will be a decent part of that. If he's going to wander around with Stinky and Zeb, you know, you have to have her in there somewhere. You know, she knows Zeb, you know, from Rebels as well. So you have that whole pull from that, but more that she is a main character in especially the last season of The Mandalorian. And I think if he gets into trouble, obviously he's going to call her, and then she can bring her Mandalorian clan now with whatever they're doing, fixing up Mandalore or whatever, and come help him. Or maybe it's just her and somebody else, you know. I think hopefully we'll see the armor in this again, you know, somewhere. I think that's going to be, you know, and is that considered a cameo? I don't think so. I think the armor needs to be there. She's been there the whole time.
I agree with Mike. Like, I don't even think Bo-Katan is really a cameo, considering how heavy she was in this story before. And the armorer, I felt like, did you feel like she didn't get enough time season 3? I thought we were going to learn even more about her.
Everybody thought she was somebody important under the mask, and we never figured that out, and it was a whole thing. But to your point too, and actually Holly said in the chat, I don't think Thrawn's going to kill anyone because he doesn't really kill people in air too much. The Thrawn in canon is very different. Just having watched the finale of Rebels last night, when the Rebels think that they've got him, and they've put all of they tricked all the Imperials to get inside the dome on Lothal, and Thrawn comes in and goes, "You think you've trapped my people? You've just saved me from killing my own assets." And he starts just bombarding the people of Lothal, just killing them. So he's more evil, I suppose, in canon. But my interesting point, or what I think is going to be very interesting to see, is the Emperor is gone. Thrawn really listened to the Emperor and obeyed his command. The Emperor is gone now. What's Thrawn's true intentions? Are they going to go back to the Chiss? Are they going to go back to all the stuff that they explore in the Timothy Zahn books? Or are they just going to completely, you know, throw that out the window? We'll see.
Yeah. Or like, what's his stance on the First Order they're planning, right? Like, what's his stance on
Snoke,
you know,
and all
Hux?
that.
Hux is already farming humans for the military, and you know, a part of them think necromancer is going to work. Like, you know, what's his stance on all that?
It would be great if Thrawn comes back and goes, "Oh, Moff Gideon was making an army of Force-sensitive clones." That makes sense. Why would I not want an army of Force-sensitive? It would be really great, long story short, to make Thrawn be the guy who creates Snoke. Like, to be the guy who's smart enough to crack the code. Because so many people have tried. Yeah, so many people have tried, and he would be the one who succeeds.
Well,
that would be really, really cool. We'll go ahead.
To your point about that like the whole logic of Snoke existing makes sense for someone like Thrawn. Just like this guy who's scary that actually distances us politically from this whole thing, you know?
Yeah.
And
well, the thing too with that is Thrawn in Rebels and in the books, canon books, he hates the Death Star. He thinks it's a huge waste of money. He's like, why would you put all your funds into one base? We should make the TIE Defenders. The TIE Defenders will make your TIEs stronger and better, and you win the war with the little things. So if he finds out that Moff Gideon has successfully made Force-sensitive clones, make all the stormtroopers Force-sensitive. It's why not? Like you will win the war, any war, if your stormtroopers are Force-sensitive, and it might just fail, but he's in doing so creates Snoke
or Beskar stormtrooper armor. That might have been a better idea than the clones from Gideon, actually.
Yeah, true.
You know?
Yeah. I want Thrawn to be a part in what comes next, because it would make the First Order so much better if Thrawn is the reason for its existence.
Well, we have to get that answer somehow, how all of this has formed. And I think we're on a good path right now to sort of lead into that. And you have this Shadow Council, who obviously we know some of them continue on because Hux's son is, pretty big part of that. So obviously that goes on. So I think you're onto something there, Mike. I think that is something that he could be a part of as we go on in this universe, and with him in this now back in here from Legends into canon, where they can make him he's the guy that's going to start building this First Order with the Shadow Council.
Yeah. And Max Rebo said, does Thrawn trust in the Force? He's a worshiper of things. He likes art. He likes to dissect things, but he mentions in Rebels to Ezra that he doesn't understand the Force, or he struggles to understand the Force, but it's such an intriguing concept to him. Like, he doesn't wield the Force himself, but because he's so obsessed with art and religion and people, that the Force to him is such a cool concept that he doesn't know how to access it. He doesn't know how to use it. But if he had the opportunity to not use it, but access it or create clones like that, he might be fully on board.
Right. Plus, he knows about the Skywalkers in the books. So, like, they don't say they have the Force, but they definitely have abilities and what that is. So it's like, I think he is very, very into the idea.
And even in Ahsoka, he's like, dude, all it takes is one of those guys to ruin this whole thing. Like, he's very aware of that. Who just said this? Holly. He can't predict, other than knowing that he needs to be afraid of the apprentice of Anakin Skywalker. He's telling them, like, I don't think you understand. It only takes one of them. Like, that's the whole reason I'm here, is it was just one of them did this to me.
Well, that's the thing too, is Thrawn could never in a million years predict that Ezra had a connection to the Purrgil and that those things would come in and destroy his plan. Never. So he can't predict, as Holly said, what a Jedi is capable of and what they can do. He thought he won that Lothal battle. He thought it was over and he had won. And then these giant space whales come out of nowhere because Ezra uses the Force to connect to them. And that's just something that he doesn't know. He can't know, and he will never know. But that's why they scare him so much.
I'm gonna real quick push back on one of Max Rebo's comments. I think Thrawn would do an excellent job of organizing the First Order, and then his time is over by the time long before they have their come up. Like, I think right now they seem like a bunch of Imperial remnants run by warlords, run kind of by a Shadow Council with a lot of differing views. I think he would be able to get them going, but then his absence would give us the failed First Order that we eventually get, right?
Yeah.
Like, whatever happens to him requires the need for a who name anybody, Kylo Ren, Snoke, Hux, young Hux instead of Thrawn. Are you kidding me? Like, so I think them getting organized like that would have to happen by someone like him taking the reins and giving the Shadow Council their own sort of guidance. But the existence of Starkiller Base, which would be like a Thrawn, like that would just be probably disgusting to him that Starkiller Base even is beginning to exist.
Yeah.
And maybe even like Necromancer and all that stuff, I don't think he'd be a huge fan of, in which case the way that these Shadow Council guys work, man, even in those meetings, they might all kind of like stay on their own projects and not totally give themselves to Thrawn, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like they all have a little bit of Gideon in them. They are all very protective of their own power. How are they going to consolidate it? Maybe Pelian's the only guy there that's really like, give me Thrawn.
Yeah.
I could see some infighting being the end of it.
Absolutely. Well, that's the problem with the remnant of the Empire right now is the infighting. They don't have a ruler. They don't have a leader. And Thrawn hopefully will be that. My question to you guys is, do you think Palpatine in his state on Exegol will try to reach out to Thrawn at all? Because in the Shadow of the Sith novel, Palpatine himself appears with the Sith cultists, appears to Ochi of Bastoon to give him the dagger, explain to him that he has to kill the girl, which is Rey, and this whole thing. But it's such an important mission that Palpatine himself appears to, I forget if it's a hologram or what, but he appears to, with the Sith cultists, to Ochi of Bastoon. Do you think these Sith cultists will make their way to Thrawn and be like, there's a plan in motion here, you have to stick to the Emperor's plan? Do you think Thrawn will be enlightened by Exegol and know about all that stuff?
It's interesting. I like that. I am going to, real quick, before I answer that, Papa Boz, he wanted us to restart, so I was like,
yeah, no problem. All right,
absolutely.
We can start. So Star Wars is cool.
But thank you for joining us, Papa Boz. Appreciate it, even though you're late. But
you can always watch it when we're done.
That's right. True. That's right. That's interesting. I never even thought about that, because obviously he's still around. Palpatine is obviously.
The two had a relationship before, like they know of each other, and I feel like Thrawn would be smart enough to know that Palpatine's not dead if he's not dead. Like he'd be one who would figure that out.
I think there are two things I think of immediately. One, if Thrawn becomes heir to the Empire, he would get, albeit selective information from the rest of them. He would get as much information about what's been going on since he left as possible. And no one could absorb it better than him, right?
Yeah.
So I think he, at some level, obviously the members of the Shadow Council know at least that there is a Project Necromancer. They may not know what exactly they're working on. I can't imagine Palpatine wanting all of these people to know that he's being resurrected. I would think that's probably the most top secret thing in the universe.
Yeah.
And so maybe there's like one key holder. But the other thing is, when Palpatine's returning, and it makes sense even in the EU, this is more like what he's actually interested in. Like the Empire to him and being Emperor is a means to an end. He's trying to become he's trying to basically become the dark side of the Force. Like he is trying to, this is a Sith quest, to the point where like Mas Amedda is doing most of his work for the Empire. Like the Empire is just his tool at that point. And I feel like if he figures out how to get back, as we see in Rise, it's all Sith stuff. It's like First Order can have their thing. This is a Sith operation here. I'm going to tell everybody, like, despite maybe Luke Skywalker maybe being able to get the word out with urban legends that I was a Sith Lord, I'm going to tell you that I am. I'm going to blow up a planet. I'm going to tell you to submit to the Sith, not the Empire, not the First Order. Final Order, emblem everywhere, done. So I feel like he's kind of more like, his resurrection is a little more balls out, and he would be more careful about it,
Yeah.
But Thrawn, and where does he view Thrawn? Is Thrawn more of like, man, at one time when Empire was the best tool for me, Thrawn was the guy.
Well, but Thrawn might be the guy who can be his main general. That's what I'm saying. Like he can do his Sith stuff.
Yeah. What, or, do I think Thrawn's belief system is aligned with my, like, would he be better to get the First Order up and running, or could I bring him into the Final Order? Like, it would depend on his point of view, because we're not far away from, in the story of Battlefront 2, Palpatine telling telling almost everybody in the Empire to kill all their men.
Yeah.
Like, get done with it. We're going to stage a whole battle and everyone's going to die except my select few. So
Yeah.
I would think Thrawn makes the cut, but I don't know. It depends on how he views Thrawn's alignment with his ultimate plan, because he doesn't even know if he can get resurrected yet.
Yeah.
Might make it desperate.
Well, what's interesting with Thrawn too is we're spending so much time away from him. Ahsoka, we don't know how much time is between Ahsoka season 1 and Mando, or Mando and Ahsoka season 2. So Thrawn might be learning all this stuff because he's been gone for 11 years. He might be learning about what he missed off screen. So when we see him again, he might already be in the know and already be like, yeah, I know all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll have to see.
Yep.
Well, we are right at 2 hours. And this
wow.
Flew by.
What an episode.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
Yep. Again, thank you everybody for being on. Besides you three guys, all the people in the chat here, thank you for hanging with us. This has been our most popular episode so far, which is pretty cool. And I love to see the growth, and I love that you guys are sticking around and talking to us, and that chat just keeps rolling, which I think is really cool as well. So thank you guys for interacting with each other and with us. Again, tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern time, Mike will be back on, a guy who loves Star Wars, and on Saturday as well. And then again on Tuesday. And then next Wednesday, we will be back. So appreciate everybody sticking around. Nick, that was an awesome little thing that you brought on. So appreciate that. That was cool. And we talked about all the new stuff that's coming out, which is cool. And like I said, with Mike tomorrow, anything new that you miss in between now and next Wednesday, Mike will have it. So keep checking him out. And again, thanks again for everybody being on here. I know I've said again 16 times, but it's awesome that you guys are here and spending time with us. So may the force be with you. We'll see you on the next Star Wars Jedi Chat, and it'll be next Wednesday. So y'all have a good evening.